Hello, everybody. My name is Catherine, and today I will talk about Buddhism and Shintoism, the two practices of Japan. The purpose of this presentation is not only to educate others about the different practices of Japan, but the goal is to inform others about the importance, similarity Buddhism and Shintoism have. This presentation will help others to identify the difference of Buddhism and Shintoism, and I will discuss in details how these both religions can benefit you in your life. So first, let's discuss Japan's culture and what is it about. Shintoism and Buddhism are Japan's two major religions. Shinto is traditionally known to be an ancient Japanese practice and is old as Japan's culture. Buddhism was imported from India in the 6th century and slowly started growing and spreading out and finally reached to Japan. Ever since, these two religions have been coexisting each other nicely, and most people in Japan practice Shinto Buddhism or both, which you can practice both religions at the same time. So now I will discuss what Buddhism, a little bit of Buddhism. The history of Buddhism. Buddhism was originated in India, as I mentioned. It slowly started growing and spreading throughout the Asian regions and finally reached to Japan. Buddhism consists of the teachings of the Buddha, also known as Gautama or Siddhartha. Siddhartha was born into a wealthy family as a prince in Nepal, and his whole life he had a pretty easy life. He was a prince. He had someone to take care of him, like things will be handed to him. He just lived a very luxurious, easy life. So one day he decided to go outside his castle, and the first thing he sees are suffering throughout the world. He saw an elderly man, he saw a sick person, and he saw a corpse. And he was moved by the suffering that was going on in the world. So after he saw those sights, Buddha vowed to discover human suffering. So throughout his journey, he went around the world trying to figure out or find out what makes human suffer and how can we fix that, or how can we not suffer anymore. So through his journey, he under a tree, he understood the truth about life. What is Buddhism? Buddhism is a practice and a spiritual journey that leads to the true nature of reality. Buddhist practices are mainly meditation, which helps you keep yourself in order to develop the qualities of awareness, kindness, and wisdom. Buddhism purpose is to reach Buddhahood or enlightenment. And someone that is enlightened sees the nature of reality and can clearly see the path. And they live in a very fully peaceful life. The goal of the Buddhist or Buddhism is to get out of the suffering cycle that we all go through. So we are in a cycle and it keeps repeating. And their goal is just to get out of that cycle and free their soul from suffering. Buddhism believes Buddha taught that there were four noble truths in life. So these are just basic instructions to teach you the suffering in the world and how you can reach enlightenment from it. There is nirvana, which is the ultimate goal of Buddhists. And in order for someone to reach nirvana, a person must follow the eightfold path, which I will talk about in my next slides. Buddhists also believe in reincarnation. They believe in karma and samsara, which is the wheel of life or the wheel of rebirth. And this wheel just represents based on your past life deeds. So whatever you did in your past life, it will qualify where you land in the samsara wheel. And I will talk about that uh, in my next slides coming up. So here are the eightfold path. These are the teachings of the Buddha. So we have know the truth, say nothing to others. Say nothing to hurt others. Practice meditation, control your thoughts, resist evil, free your mind of evil, work for the good of others, and have a respectful life or respect life. So they believe that if you follow this eightfold path, then this will guide you to reach nirvana, to get out of that cycle of suffering. So that is the main teachings that Buddha was spreading through the world when he was trying to find an answer of suffering. So now I will talk about Shintoism. Shinto history. Shinto is the worship of kami, also known as spirits or gods. Kamis are based of nature places such as oceans, rivers, rocks, forests, animals, mountains. Literally anything can be a kami in Shintoism. Shintoism have important spirits. One of them is Izanagi and Izanami. And these two are very important in Japan. They believe that these kami have created the islands of Japan. They also believe that the Japanese emperor is descended from Amaterasu, which is also one of the main kamis in Japan, and it's known to be the kami of the sun or the spirit of the sun. So these are just a few facts about Shinto history. There's really not much history like Buddhism because Shintoism is just like a practice, a way of life. They only believe in spirits and they believe in the kami. So there's not really much about Shinto history. There's not really records of how Shinto was created or the founder of it. So what is Shintoism? Shintoism is one of the oldest religion and most popular religion in Japan. Shinto is a polytheistic religion, meaning that they believe in different gods. Shinto is traditionally known to be an Asian religion in Japan, and it's also one of the most practiced religion besides Buddhism. Shinto is the worship of kami, aka spirits or gods, as I mentioned before, and they go based on anything that's nature related, like ocean, rivers, rocks, forests, animals, the wind, the sun, the water, like anything that's nature based that they consider them a kami. Shinto doesn't have a leading founder. or they don't have any spiritual or sacred scriptures like other religions typically do. So, yes, they do not follow anything scripted. They just worship kami and pay respect to nature and the spirits. Shintoism believes Shintoism doesn't have official scriptures or founder, as I mentioned. Shinto is centered around kami, spiritual forces by nature. Shintoism is a way of life and do not believe in an afterlife. The kami is named from the beliefs of nature gods. Nature is one of the Shintoism main priorities. So the word Shinto means the way of kami. So it just pretty much explains that Shintoism, excuse me, is just based on kami or spiritual or gods. But Shintoism main focus is nature and respecting nature. Here is a picture of one of the most known kami in Japan, just so you can have an idea. I mean, it's a human being, but it's an ancestor. Like this kami has passed away and just takes a big important role in the Japan culture. So now I will talk about Buddhism versus Shintoism, like what makes them so different and why they're so important in Japan. So first, Buddhism was originated from India to China, and then slowly started spreading to Japan. Buddhism believed humans can be Buddha as long as they achieve enlightenment. So anybody can be a Buddha. Anybody can reach to that enlightenment state that the Buddha reached. Buddha is not a god, and he did not consider himself a god. He believed that anybody can reach the state that he reached. So anybody can be a Buddha in Buddhism. Shintoism originated in ancient Japan, and Shinto is an animistic religion, meaning that there's 1,000 of different spirits in the world, such as nature places and rocks, rivers, animals. Literally anything can be a spirit in Japan. So these are like one of the differences that these two have. Shintoism and Buddhism differences. So here are some few examples, and these are few of the things that I will talk about in my couple of slides. We have Buddha and Kami, shrines and temples, monks and priests or nuns and priestess, Buddhism's goal and Shintoism goal. So now let's talk about some of them. Shinto shrines versus Buddhist temples. So Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples are quite similar in Japan. I mean, they have the same representation, it's a worship structure in Japan, but they are slightly different. Temples have a large incense burner, and they have many Buddhist statues around the temple. While shrines have a large torii gate, which I have showed before in the beginning of my presentation. It's a big red torii gate that sits in front of the shrine, and I will show an example later. Shrines also have a purification well, and this purification well, it's very important to use because once you enter to the torii gate, you are considered to be in the lands of the gods. So it's very important to purify yourself. Both of these structures have the same importance in Japan. Shinto shrines are normally built around woods and nature, and most Shinto shrines celebrate festivals to show kami, the outside world. So these are a few of the things that they both have differences. And here are some of examples. So as we see here, we have a Buddhist temple, we have a Buddhist statue, and we also, Buddhist temples are slightly different from shrines, like the style. As you can see, like the Buddhist temple have like the little like pointy area in top of the structure. Now the shrine, this is what I was trying to show you guys. We have a big red torii gate. Now the torii gates don't really have to be red all the time, but majority of them are red. So they do believe that once you enter this gate right here, you are entering the land of the gods or the land of the kami, and it is considered a spiritual place. So that's why it's very important to purify yourself, because you're entering to a spiritual or a sacred land. And you can't quite see here very well, but the shrines do not have the pointy ends like Buddha's structures do. You can see here they're a little bit different, but as I mentioned, they are different, but they hold the same meaning, which is worship Buddha or Buddha scriptures, or worship the kami. So this is what a Buddhist temple look like, and this is what Shinto shrines look like. So now I will talk about Buddha versus kami. Japanese religions don't have any specific god. They do not follow a god like other religions do. Buddha are human beings who have achieved enlightenment and are free from the cycle of life. Buddhas are male beings and cannot get married. However, kami are spirits and can either be male or female, and they are allowed to get married and have kids. Anybody can be a kami. However, it has to be someone an ancestor or someone that died, or that died in a honorable way, or someone that paid a very big impact in the world. So that's how they consider someone to be a kami. So here's an example. Right here we have just different type of Buddhas. As you can see, they are Buddhas because they have the little aura surrounded on them. And then next to that, we have a kami. It can either be a dog or a wolf. I'm not quite sure, but you have an idea of what it looks like, what a kami can be like. It can be a fox, it can be a wolf, it can be a dog, like it can literally be anything. So this is just an example of that. Now we will talk about monks, nuns versus priests and priestesses. In Japan, monks and priests are people who worship or practice certain religions. However, in Japan, monks and priests can be a slight difference. Monks are celibate, and they cannot get married, they cannot have kids. However, priests are allowed to get married and have kids. Anybody in Japan can be a priest, such as male or female. Buddhist monks and nuns live an ascetic life. Shinto priests don't follow any scriptures, but Buddhist monks do. Shinto priests perform Shinto rituals and often live on the shrine grounds. Buddhists in Buddhism, there's also rituals and there are ceremonies. So there, it just really depends. But in Japan, they often priests, they often perform the rituals there. So here an example of Buddhist monks and Shinto priest or priestess. As you can see here, they do kind of have the same attire. They do have the same look. This is what Buddhist monks look like. Even for nuns, like they do have to like shave off their hair and wear the orange attire. Next here we have the Shinto priest or priestess. And right now, what she's wearing or what he's wearing is a traditional Shinto attire. But yes, however, not all of them have the same attire. It could literally be different. But this is an example of what it looks like in Shinto. Buddhist goals and versus Shinto goal. The main goal of a Buddhist is to escape suffering and leave the cycle of rebirth. Buddhists, they want to reach nirvana and free themselves from this cycle that they keep going and going over again. Buddhists don't want to be rebirth again. Like that's the whole goal. The goal is to free their soul from this cycle, from this life. Like they do not want to rebirth again. Shintoism goal is just to be a good human. Like that's the main thing about Shinto. Um, is just to worship the ancestors, worship nature, and just live a very peaceful harmony life. So that's a big, big difference. Like we have in Buddhism, we have someone that wants to free their soul, and then Shinto, they just want someone to respect nature, respect anything that's created from this world, and live a peaceful life. So there's a really big difference on that. So here's an example. We have a Shinto ceremony going on here, but as you can see, there's a lot of nature going around. There's trees, we have a river, we have rocks. Like these are all like very important in Shinto. And that's basically what a kami is. And if they're having a ceremony here, I will assume it's a very sacred place in Japan. They do see, you see that tires. These are the priests or priestess attire. We do have a different one here, but yeah. And for Buddhism, this is samsara. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is samsara, which is the cycle of life or rebirth. So let me show you guys here real quick. So these are the different levels of samsara. I mean, we have, animals, like you can rebirth to an animal, you can rebirth to a demon, you can rebirth to a human, like literally, like there's like different levels of rebirth here. So the whole goal for Buddhism is to get out of the circle, get out of this cycle that keeps going over and over and over again. So once you finally reach nirvana, or once you finally like reach that state of enlightenment and can finally reach nirvana, then this is the goal right here. The goal is to get out of this cycle and be up here, free from this cycle, free from suffering. The goal is just to get out and free the soul from this cycle that keeps going over and over again. So that is the difference between Buddhism's goal and Shintoism goal. So some of the similarities from Shintoism and Buddhism, both of these religions practice a very peaceful coexistence of living and non-living things. However, in Japan, some people practice Buddhism and Shintoism at the same time. Both of these religions don't have a god that they worship, although their goal are different. And the whole purpose of these two religions is to live a life in peace. A lot of people, well, something that really attracted me from the Japan culture is just the way they live. Like they live a very like clean, peaceful life. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying they're always happy and peaceful and positive, because no, like anybody can be negative because we're humans. That's human nature. But they practice Shintoism and Buddhism to help them be that nice person or help them be in peace with themselves. So that's something that attracts me about Japan's culture. They following all these things about Shintoism and Buddhism will help them have that peaceful life that they want. And for some of them, it will help them um, reach enlightenment or finally get out of that suffering cycle. So that's why it's very important to know the difference between Shintoism and Buddhism and how it can help your life. So here is just a small example or a summary of Shinto and Buddhism. So the percentage from Buddhism and Shintoism in Japan, there is 65% of Buddhists in Japan, and there is 85% that follow Shintoism in Japan. The founders of Buddhism, as I mentioned before, is the Buddha. For Shintoism, there's no specific founder. However, there are animism, which they follow anything like animals, plants, just everything I mentioned. And they just have multiple myths. There's nothing that's for sure about Shintoism. It's just based of history, based of myth, and yeah. Who or what is worshipped? So in Buddhism, we know that they follow the scriptures of the Buddha. They do not worship Buddha. They do not treat him as a god. Like in Buddhism, they treat the Buddha as a out of respect. Like they pray or they worship him out of respect, but they do not worship him as a god. Um, Now, for Shintoism, kami are objects like trees, rocks, anything that's nature related. That's who they worship and that's who they pay the respect to. And also spirits too. As I mentioned before, spirits are very important in Shinto. What does this strive for? So the whole Buddhism, as I mentioned before, is to be free of desire, greed, hatred, anything negative. Like that's the whole point of Buddhism, to be free out of that negativity. For Shinto, it's just to live a pure life by keeping spirits away through purification rituals. I should mention that in Shintoism, there's good spirits and bad spirits. So that's the whole point of it. Just keep bad spirits away from Japan, away from anything that's sacred to them. What ceremonies usually practiced in this religion? There's a bunch of practice. It depends. Buddhism has different type of Buddhism, and depending where you live, they have their own traditions. But Buddhism do practice weddings and openings, and Shintoism practice funerals and New Year's Eve. And there's more to it, but as I mentioned, it really depends which part of Asian origin are you from, that they have their own traditions and their own beliefs. In conclusion, throughout my research between Buddhism and Shintoism, I have learned the importance of Buddhism and Shinto in Japan. I have understood the culture, history, and the importance of these two religions that take place in Japan, and how they keep alive peacefully through Buddhism and Shintoism beliefs. This presentation helped me spot the difference and the similarities, and this presentation helped me educate others the difference between Shinto and Buddhism. And now I can tell people like, hey, like if you want to follow Buddhism, here's this, here's that. And Shintoism, we don't really see a lot of people here in the US that follow Shinto. It's very rare, but you can still practice Shinto, even if it's not like very big in the United States. Like you can still be Buddhist and follow the Shinto practices and have a very peaceful life and just respect nature. So I learned a lot through this presentation, and I hope you guys did too. Here are my works cited lists, and I am done. Thank you for watching.